Welcome to a brand new episode of Greentech Pulse, and today's guest is calling in or speaking from London, which is like my adopted home. So
Wow.
today's guest is Jane Jin. Dr. Jane Jin is from OXCCU. Dr. Jane is a researcher, and she'll talk about OXCCU. I'm going to keep it a surprise till she starts. So let's just go straight to that. So welcome to Green Tech Pulse.
All right. Thank you, Pete. And first of all, thanks the invitation, really. Glad to be in the podcast. So, yeah, I'm Dr. Jane Jin. So, I'm one of the co-founders and chief operating officer at a Oxford University spinout called OXCCU. Myself, I wouldn't call myself a researcher, but I did have a PhD in chemistry, work on organocatalysis at Cambridge, actually it's like a long time ago. I finished in 2010. um, yeah, so yeah, 15 years ago. I tell my age, but yeah, but I do really love chemistry. It's a subject that always, fascinated me. And even though, we're doing a startup now, so my role is quite closely work with scientists, researcher at OXCCU.
Okay, so now what do you do at OXCCU generally?
Yeah, so love to tell you more about it. So as mentioned, we a Oxford University now. So what we do is we convert carbon dioxide and hydrogen to long chain hydrocarbons, fuel, well you call that fuel or chemicals. Um, well, currently the market that we focus on is SAF, sustainable aviation fuel. So the secret source or the technology behind it is catalyst. So the catalyst, which is can selectively, pick up the molecules, carbon dioxide and hydrogen, and grow the chain and make it, to be a liquid. So yeah, there's some very clever real science chemistry behind it. One of our co-founders, our CTO, he's the wise man. So it's all the research, work at the university for over a decade, actually.
So I think basically, because I think that's really, I know from basic chemistry, carbon is one carbon dioxide is one carbon, two oxygen, and then jet fuel is like this complex CHO something 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 together. And I think science has gone so far for you to be able to build from
Yeah.
carbon to this thing. So what got you into um, focusing on that field of research?
Well, actually, the research happened. The company we founded back in 2020, 2021, but the research has already started very early days. I think maybe around 2016. I can't remember, but definitely 4 or 5 years before that. So it was initially, the University of Oxford get a EPSRC grant to look at, the a low carbon alternative fuel using CO2. So I think that's everything, how where it started. But of course, the research group itself has been looking at how to activate CO2 because CO2 is a very stable molecule. It's in the air, it's very inert. Um, Technically speaking, that not easy to activate CO2. So it's not quite an area that people has been looking to look at, from the scientific perspective. But because the decarbonization, the net zero ambition, all the target has been set. So then how to utilize CO2 instead of storage CO2. So the utilization of CO2 become quite hot area, and lots of researchers has been looking at it. So we're quite lucky because the scientists behind has know how to activate it and selectively and grow that hydrocarbon chain, to we call that Ca to 16 the length, and that's the jet fuel range hydrocarbons.
Oh, okay. So I think generally, when we look at the different methods of carbon capture, it's
Yeah.
usually very energy intensive. It's usually very expensive too. And I think talking about your process to activating the carbon, building it into a longer chain, it sounds like something
Hmm.
that might be expensive and all that. So how does your approach tackle the economics to make doing this practically viable?
Yeah. Well, how would I say? So first of all, I think the technology is not about capture carbon. So I think that maybe I haven't, made it clear. But what we do is that if we someone have CO2, let's say nowadays people quite familiar with DAC, you can capture carbon in the air, but that's not the technology OXCCU is focusing on. So what we do is we take CO2, we take hydrogen. So the CO2 could be from, you know, um, point source, could be from biogenic CO2. It could be that. It could be just from the air. But we take it, at a location where it's available, and hydrogen, of course. Also, I think hydrogen is also quite expensive, in a way. In some aspect, more expensive than CO2. But what we are looking at energy transition. We are quite, group of people committed to provide this, how would you say, the technology for the future, not well, the near future, not long future, to help the overall energy transition. And most of the market is basically driven by, the regulation. EU, UK all have set very clear mandate. How much percentage of, SAF has to be blended into the current fuel. So yeah, but overall, SAF would be definitely a very good alternative fuel that could gradually, help with the energy transition, one of the largest challenge the world is facing now.
Okay, so this fuel you're developing, it's being used currently.
No, yeah. So I think we wish it would, but because I think for if we talk about aviation fuel, or in particular sustainable aviation fuel, we believe there are currently three generations. The first generation is using called Cypher, is like, sorry, HIFA is cooking oil. That is what is already in the market, in the Oxford airport where we are based. We have, the supply of it already. So, but that's the first generation. But how much cooking oil can we have in the world is very limited amount, but it is a solution to address the market now and to develop the value chain, the supply chain. The second generation is about, change alcohol to fuel. We are it's like third generation, arguably second generation as well, depending on when the technology become commercially available. So, but yeah, not quite yet, but we are doing quite well. We demonstrate technology at Oxford Airport. Has been 4 years since the company set up, made very good progress. There's lots of companies come here to visit and see actually the fuel produced on site. So it's quite exciting moment for us.
Amazing. So now for our technically minded listeners, over the past 4 years, building this process, designing this process, and everything, what have been the biggest scientific challenges you faced in doing this?
Yeah. I think, to be honest, the challenge is quite like, any startup would have the same challenge to bring the lab result to a scale up lab, or scale up routes to develop. So we I think small around, how you could um, assemble a team of people that who basically, you not only need the chemist in a way who design the catalyst, formulate the catalyst. The scale up, we more talk about chemical engineering, isn't it? So how the challenge we faced is, one of is how you could quickly assemble a team with the right experience, commitment, and passion as well as us to deliver, the some of the milestones we have. Of course, in addition, technically there are challenges such as, we have to make the powder catalyst into a shaped foam. So which means you prototyping, I think that may be easier for people to understand. So you need to develop a product. So from prototyping, um, that process there's lots of learning, there's lots of mistake that people will, encounter, which is normal. However, I think the most important that I think what we learned is how you build that culture in the company. People like, oh yeah, it's not work, it's fine, let's do it again. So it's, it's not like, oh no, what happened? Um, Good attitude is really important, and the people just take that extra miles to enjoy what they're doing. I think everybody in the company, when we recruit some of the team, is really try to find people who are sort of, automation, mission driven, and also we really have to take that contribution or willingness to take that commitment to the net zero, help with the climate crisis. So I think that's the company culture we're setting in the company.
Okay, so now another thing I'll ask is that for most of this green technology during
Yeah,
research in the labs, they work really well. Everything
yeah,
works, the experiments and everything. But when you take them into the real world, like you said, you're currently set up at Oxford Airport.
yeah.
A lot of times you see that there's a huge difference between what happened in the lab and what happens in the real world. So did you encounter anything like that transitioning from the lab into your plant at the Oxford Airport?
Yes, I mean, I think in the business we're in, I think it's sort of less, how it is, less risky. So the other business, when you may have to change the way how you make it completely. For us, we also have the same problem as well. How you make the catalyst in the lab would be very different than how we scale up the production of the catalyst, in like, you know, commercial scale. So we do have that challenge. And I think for us, we recruit the people that who have the background. We work with partners who can help, and also, so we have two sites. We have a research site at Babrock Science Park, is the university's sort of incubator. We have 4 labs there currently, but when I think last year or the year before, 2025, yes, time goes so fast. So we set up a kilogram lab there, basically, with the right facility. And so we have to develop that skill up route, and and also to develop the formulation for the product, the shaped catalyst as well. So that's all takes time. Um, I think, yeah, for the people who is, thinking to doing that, of course, you have to do is that's the way to go. Um, so I think just be mindful that, the it might be different. So don't be like, oh my gosh, I have to change it completely. It's fine. That's normal. That's people do it in the large scale tons. It definitely, small scale, like a gram scale in the lab. So, but definitely the right level of expertise is required from industry. So we do. Luckily, we have people join us, have bring the industry expertise, and also we have we have we have a team of people, and I think 9 or 10 people have a PhD. So I think really, well, not every scientist, but like myself, I had a PhD. But that's the level of communication, that encouragement people to doing research, to enjoy doing research, and translate that to commercialization. Um, the innovation sort of, I think innovation driven approach is important, not just research, not too commercial, but sort of combining them, the interface and the people working collaboratively in that. Even a small company, where we have 2 sides. So how you make sure that the team work together and deliver the some of the challenge, deliver the result, um, overcome some of the challenges, which is all technology would have the same problem. But it's important that you create that, kind of innovation driven environment, and the people encouraged to do so.
Amazing. So now I think one other question I would like to ask is that doing research, I found out that you got a bit of funding for building this whole project and everything. And
Yeah.
to secure the funding, you must have done something right. So do you have
Yeah.
any advice for maybe other businesses in the green space, heavy on research like you, that are looking for funding? And what did
Mm.
you do right and what can they do right?
Yeah. We there's learning, yes. And I have to say, I think I think in 2023 we raised 18 million Series A round. Um, I think that's probably quite a big, one of the biggest the Series A round in the clean tech, particularly in the UK. Um, we're quite lucky to have all the investors behind us. But I think there are a few things I think for any company who want to raise money, I mean, of course, you need a right time. Currently, it's quite challenging to raise money. At the time back then, 4 5 years ago, slightly easier. So timing is right. If this year is not right, that you have to just wait. Maybe you have to wait. Maybe you don't. But the first thing you need a very good story. You need a good business plan. I'm trying to say, it's not like the best business plan ever. The business plan may change, but you need to have a first of all over understanding what the exactly market you try to address. So keep focus is very important, because you have a small team, you can't do everything. Even your technology can do it. Keep the focus, and also I think the initial team, in particular the management team, investors really looking at who is the people, try to scale up the business. And at OXCCU, we have our CEO Andrew Symes. His background is in trading in venture capital, so he's very good. Leading the team, doing the fundraising. Myself, work on IP licensing before OXCCU. I work for um, innovation management consultancy. I work for Oxford University Innovation, helping early stage company to raise money and also to set up the team, work with the early stage sort of company. So lots of these experience that really the investor really kind of really value on in particular the C-level management team. So assemble a very good team is essential, and also you have to make sure everybody is have complementary skill set. So make sure they don't really kind of you can do it, I can do it too. Bring different aspect of their not just just not the knowledge, the experience, but also the network, they have and protect, because there's lots of in the early days, speed to market is very important, and any business or startup, yes, you have time, but the first 2 to 3 years is critical. If you don't progress your technology um, at the speed you expected, others would do it for you. Their large companies have, lots of people they will pick up quickly and override it. So make sure that I think if you can't do yourself, one of the learnings that you find external parties to help you, but you need to know that what you need to deliver and make sure that you state the time, the milestone that you are basically planned in your business proposal.
Okay, so I think you've mentioned the timing, the right timing for the product in the market and also for funding. Then
Yeah,
focus on a particular thing. Don't scatter your focus and try to
yeah,
focus on a single thing so you're able to produce more. And also the team, assemble a team that can do it, that will convince investors that they can pull this project off.
yeah.
And the team should have a network and complementary skill sets. I think that's really great advice.
Oh, I think I forgot as well. You need to have patents ideally. So yeah, yeah. If you're like depending on what business you are in, if you're like a deep tech, kind of not deep tech, it's kind of science-based startup. I think you really need to protect your initial kind of results very well. And for us, we're quite lucky because the University of Oxford help us to protect the intellectual property, the technology, the catalyst, and it's a quite strong patent. So, and of course, don't rush to protect something. It's good to do it, but make sure that the patent that you drafted, protected is, cover ideally a wider um, coverage of the protection. I think that's so. Yeah, lots of yeah. I think that's the thing I really need to add. I think investors really value if you have patents or not. Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah, so protect your ideas, have intellectual
yeah,
property protection on them. Very
yeah.
important.
That's
All
true.
right.
Yeah.
So I think earlier you mentioned that this research can help stabilize hydrogen demand. So
Mm-hmm.
can you explain how your technology fits into the hydrogen economy generally?
Um, yeah, I mean, as mentioned, we convert CO2 and hydrogen to SAF. So, and hydrogen is one of the important starting material that, feedstock we need. Um, so I believe ESAF, because where we're doing ESAF, is play quite critical role to drive the demand of the hydrogen market. I think you probably have seen recently, some cancellation and on the quite big hydrogen projects. There's regulation, in the US is not really there's a bit of uncertainty currently. The market is a little bit like, what to do. Should we wait or should we progress? But I don't see it too negatively, and first of all, because I'm quite an optimistic person, um, which is really important when you're doing startup. Yes, I can do it, can do attitude. Um, but I think what I see it really is, I think the market is trying to adjust itself because, hydrogen is like, yes, everybody rushing to hydrogen. But do the actual market need that much demand? I think the market just kind of, now settling down to kind of make the demand is reasonable. Some of the project, yeah, stopped. But, I think in the EU, there's only 20% of the project, which is, well, sadly, there, but they are still, I think 80% of the project still alive, is happening as well. So we don't, yes, there are some, postpone, there's some maybe uncertainty, people do not want to do, but the majority of the market is still, in hydrogen is still happening. And they're looking for demand, and cost is very important because hydrogen, it is expensive. So the ESAF we make, we convert CO2 to hydrogen through we call that a one-step process instead of currently the other kind of competitive pathway is to make ESAF at two steps. So we can provide a very cost effective, that we kind of call about the cheapest, maybe hopefully the cheapest pathway to make an ESAF. I think that's also helped to, drive you know, the demand, also the commitment for the off-takers as well. And hopefully gradually, I think the hydrogen market will, settle itself, but it takes time. It's been delayed sadly. But I think it's normal because we are basically in a brand new, renewable industry. It's like it's have never been there before, and who knows what's demand, what's price we should set. But after a period of, I think adjustment, so hopefully the policy would start become more clear. The uncertainty become a bit more, would move away. The solution would become also clear. I mean, ESAF is one of the main driver for the demand, but also there are other industries like steel, other sector also have to use hydrogen. So I do believe that, this ESAF can, wouldn't say put the puzzle together, but, we will definitely play a very important role to drive the market globally, I think.
Amazing. So now back to the aviation industry. Jets, air transport, and code have been known to contribute a lot to the carbon in the atmosphere and coal. And we've
Mhm.
had the aviation industry set very ambitious net zero targets.
Yeah.
So for this, do you believe that developing sustainable aviation fuel is the main solution to hitting these targets, or should it just be part of a bigger approach to getting the aviation industry to be more sustainable?
Well, yes, to be honest, I believe is the probably the main approach, but of course, other people may disagree. But I think when we talk aviation, we talk about the fuel, we talk about the airplane, talk about the engine. There are different ways you can decarbonize aviation industry. But I think when the company, I think if we go back to 2020, where we were thinking to set up the company, one of the main drivers, sort of, we felt at the time is, UK has basically set very clear net zero goals. I think what it's called, I think it's called 10-point green revolution. I think back like they put like 10 billion pound, I think. There's lots of money basically to see how the UK could decarbonize the aviation industry, and that they have lots of money. They try to put in different directions, and aviation fuel, yes, sustainable aviation fuel is the most key component to accelerate the decarbonization, in particular for the long distance flight. you know I think you might use electrification in a small flight, maybe 1 hour, a few hours, but for the long distance, transatlantic flight, aviation, SAF, system aviation would be definitely a solution before, let's say in the future, that maybe the other technology when it become mature. Because always remember, we are energy transition. This is one of the most promising technology to drive that and achieve it.
Okay, so beyond the aviation industry, I know you're set up in the airports and you're
Yeah.
focused on jet fuel. So, looking further beyond that aviation industry, what other industries would you say could benefit from the technology you're building in the future?
Yeah, yeah, we do actually have interest from other, parties, other, industry, because we're making long chain hydrocarbons, and we also can selectively, well, we can move the catalyst formulation to make a little bit more, slightly shorter chain, which is naphtha enriched hydrocarbons, which is the important sort of feedstock to make polymers like polyethylenes, polypropylenes. We see actually this market is kind of warming up. So definitely for the plastic, for the polymer industry, that they might be happening in the future. There's a demand for it. And also I think we make alpha olefins as well. So alpha olefins, they are one of the key precursors for lubricants and surfactants. So I think the FMCG company, I think we had some really interesting conversation. They started looking into the alternative, kind of green surfactants used for the cleaning product, or maybe health care, sorry, sort of your face and the face creams, anything that you use surfactant that probably can be replaced in the future if there's enough supply, I think.
Amazing. So now looking into the future to the next maybe 1, 2, or 3 years,
Yeah.
what's next for OXCCU? What are we looking forward to? What should we be expecting from OXCCU?
Yeah, so first thing is I think we would continue to grow the team. I think currently we are 23 people, so it's quite a good growth, compared to what we have back in the days. So we have, so 2025, so as you can see, we have a small, we call that OX1 demonstration plant built in Oxford Airport, but we'll continue to expand that side to build our mini refinery, which is very exciting. So we try to integrate other process as well to actually, to make the small amount of finished product SAF, and that could be certified by the ASTM. So it is quite exciting product we're working on. So hopefully that could be delivered next year. And more excitingly is that we're going to expand the site. It's still at Oxford Airport, but just behind the current the plant where it is. So we're going to expand it 4 times larger, I think. So we call that OX2 plant, which is have a, and currently we aiming for about 2 ton per year sort of production. level 3 is like a larger plant, not too large, but larger than what we already have. So yeah, so truly sort of develop the skill up further to be more closer to the commercial plant because we need that data and that design to move to the commercial plant stage. So very exciting and maybe quite busy ahead.
I can imagine. I can
Yeah.
imagine that's so much to do. That's
Yes.
so much to
Yeah.
do. All right. So for listeners, for people watching who have enjoyed this conversation, they're
Hmm.
excited about what you have lined up. They're excited about seeing this sustainable jet fuel
Yeah.
get used and seeing the future of it. And maybe they want to learn more from you about this technology or connect with you. What's the
Hmm.
best way they can reach you, reach OXCCU?
Yeah, so we have, I mean, for us, our website, our website, I think we're updating at the moment, but is pretty much up to date. It's up to date, but we're having a bit more new technology offering, so we would add more in the next couple of months. So one way is the website, and also our LinkedIn. So our LinkedIn, obviously, you have a LinkedIn um, file. So follow us at LinkedIn or myself. I'm quite LinkedIn active. So I sometimes look at not just, SAF, I look at other sort of sector as well, like hydrogen, CO2, is because it's our upstream technology. So yeah, and we may also have opening position as well. So keep an eye on the website there. You may be part of us, we never know.
All right, so go on the website. That's oxccu.com. You can connect
Yeah.
with Dr. Jane too
Yep.
on LinkedIn. She's quite active there. And if you want
Yeah.
to work with OXCCU, check the website, follow up, and
Yeah.
if there are any openings, you can join them and be a part of making this spread everywhere. So thank you so much, Jane, for coming on Greentech Pulse today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And for the
All right.
listeners, I hope you learned something new from today's episode. I think one thing I enjoy about Green Tech Pulse is every episode I learn something new about the green tech space, about things I never imagined could be happening. So I hope you learned like me. And if you know anyone who's excited, wants to learn more about the green tech space, send this episode to them. Or till next week when we're back with a brand new episode, just go through everything else and bye for now.